Listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Look, normally this would be Locked and Loaded with Roger B, but Locked and Loaded with Roger B is a little under the weather today. No, he doesn't have the Wuhan coronavirus. He's not drinking Corona. He doesn't have Corona. He's doing just fine. But he is going to be out today, so we're going to do another hour here of On Point with Victor / Locked and Loaded. You know, I love to talk about guns. In fact, I've got a good subject that we can start with today that's on the subject of guns. This question has come up from a few listeners as well as a colleague of mine. And the question was, if I have a young preteen or teenager and I want to get them into gun, I want to get them into guns, I want to teach them. Well, let me rephrase that before Media Matters jumps all over my you-know-what and the Democrats. I've got people that say I want to teach my kids proper gun safety and or my child wants to get into hunting. So let me word this better, because if I don't, the Democrats and Media Matters are going to jump all the way down our throats and accuse us of, putting guns in kids' hands. So, but let me get into this, because this is a good question. What do you do when if you're a gun enthusiast and you're a target shooter like myself, or maybe you're a hunter like my nephews? I trained my nephews. When my nephews got into the teenage years, I taught them first gun safety. And what I did was I brought some of my guns over. We dismantled the gun. We did everything that they needed to learn about a gun. We taught them. And then I went from there to teaching them going out to the range and going out to some shooting places and some property that we had, what some friends had. And I taught them how to shoot. I taught them how to breathe. How to hit a target. These are all things to teach. And I did it for my nephews. And now my nephews are avid hunters. I myself, I don't hunt. I'm just not a hunter. I never got into it. Don't get me wrong. I love me some good fresh bacon, and I'll go take out a boar or two should anyone have property and have the need to get rid of some boars or wild pigs. But I don't deer hunt, and I don't do any of that. But I have family that does, including my nephews. They're avid deer hunters and anything else, and they love it. But and I'm so proud of them. I'll take a minute here to give a shout out to my nephews. Chase Hogarth, Vincent Hogarth, Bryce Hogarth. I couldn't be more proud of them. They're all American boys. They're all conservative libertarians. They all believe in freedom. They believe in independence, and they all love the Second Amendment because all three of them are hunters, and all three of them know how to handle themselves. In fact, two of them are in the Army National Guard, and the third is on his way soon to being an Army National Guardsman. So proud of them. I am. But anyway, I was at that point when my nephews reached the teenage years to where, hey, what is the good first gun to get for a teenager? If you want to start teaching them gun safety and teaching them what to use and taking them on hunting trips with you.
By the way, I need to correct you on something.
Uh-oh. Yes.
It's not the Army National Guard. It's the Georgia National Guard or whatever state it is, but it's not Army National Guard.
Good point, Legendary Dave. And, yes, they are part of the Alabama National Guard.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And then you could have the Army Reserve.
Right.
That's the other reserve branch.
Yes.
But there ain't such a
yeah. It is something that gets the state National Guard. Yeah, people will sometimes say Army National Guard. Yeah,
people think that the president can call out the guard. No, the president can't call out the guard. It has to be the governor of the state.
The governor has to request it. Absolutely. Yep. No, David. Yes, thank you. Well, that's why you are Legendary Dave. But he is correct, and my nephews, they are part of the Alabama National Guard. And if you're asking why, Victor, why are they part of the Alabama Guard? Well, that is because all three of them go to University of Auburn. Don't get mad at me because I know I have some Roll Tide fans, and I've got a lot of UGA listeners out there. Look, don't get mad at me. That's the school they chose, and so yes, they're all three of them are at Auburn. But again, they're awesome kids. But let's get back to this. So if you find yourself right now, it's Christmas time. And it's Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. So if you're out there and you're looking to get a gift and you want the gift to be your teenager's first gun or your preteen's first gun, well, I've got a suggestion for you. And this is compliments of Roger B. I don't give any gun advice without first consulting Roger B. because he is a walking, talking encyclopedia for everything guns. And normally, again, you would be hearing Roger's voice right now, but he's not here today. But anyway. So if you are out there and you're looking for that first weapon, and the first, let me say first gun, because the Democrats get their panties in a wad when you call them weapons. But if you're in the position you want to get a gift and you're buying your kid a first gun, we here at Locked and Loaded and On Point with Victor, we recommend taking a look at Mossberg. Mossberg makes a really great rifle. It's called Patriot Youth. You can go do a DuckDuckGo search. Just put in Patriot Youth rifle or put in Mossberg Patriot Youth, and you're going to find information about the Patriot Youth rifle. This gun is made by Mossberg, and it's specialized to be a first gun. And this, look, I'm using a teenager or preteen as an example. But if you're out there and you're an adult, maybe you've been a liberal all your life, maybe you've been a bedwetting snowflake, but you've seen the light and you're coming over to the freedom side, you're coming over to independence, you're coming over to the libertarian conservative side, and you want to get your first gun, hey, it's not a bad idea either to start out this way. Just because it's a youth gun, now the size may not be the best for you, but if you want to start out small, there's nothing wrong with that. But this is a great gun, Mossberg Patriot Youth. It's a good gun rifle to buy as a first gun for your teenager or preteen. And here's the thing about the Patriot Youth, the Mossberg Patriot Youth rifle. It has adjustable stock. So having that adjustable stock, as your kid grows, so grows the Patriot Youth rifle. So to an extent, I mean, this stock is adjustable. So as your child grows, you can extend that stock, and so they can grow into that gun. That rifle can grow with them, so they can have it and use it for quite a while. Now, if you happen to have a teenager like my nephew who went from 5 feet to 6'4" in a matter of 2 years, it seems like, then you're going to have to graduate them to a larger gun sooner than later. But most of the average teenager, the average preteen, is going to be fine with a Patriot Youth rifle from Mossberg because of the adjustable stock. They're going to be able to grow. The gun is going to grow with the child. So I recommend that here. As far as caliber, we recommend the .243 Winchester. The .243 Winchester's got plenty of power. Look, most of the things you're going to start out hunting, especially if you're in Georgia, most of the things you're going to hunt in Georgia, the .243 Winchester caliber is plenty of power to take it down anything that any beginning hunter is going to need to take down. But the good thing about it is the .243 has a lot less recoil than a .308 or, say, a Magnum cartridge. So unless you're mad at your teen or you're mad at your teenager or whatever, don't give them the .308, don't give them the Magnum cartridge, give them the .243. It's got a lot less recoil. Again, unless you're mad at them, then give them the Magnum cartridge and let that recoil pop them a few times. Good lessons can be learned from recoil. I have two friends actually, and David, I can see you laughing because I bet you have experience with this. I have two friends that we were all shooting a 50 cal, and David, I bet you fired a 50 cal in your time. But we were all shooting a 50 cal, and look, I don't have to tell David, but most of your listeners, if you're gun enthusiasts, the recoil kickback that a 50 cal is going to have. And if you position that 50 cal and you put your head on that sight and you move that head back when you pull that trigger, you're going to get a nice little tattoo from that scope. That 50 cal is going to leave its mark on you. And I've got two friends that'll attest to that. One of them drew blood, and the other one just had a good mark. I don't think he drew blood, but oh my gosh, was it funny. So again, if you're a parent out there and you want to teach your kid a hard lesson because you're a little mad at him, or maybe you got a sassy kid, well, pack them a Magnum cartridge of 308 and don't teach them about recoil and let them learn the hard way. So now I'm not advocating that. We here at On Point with Victor and Locked and Loaded are not advocating that you do that. We teach safety here and we preach safety here. So anyway, so the other good thing about the 243 round is it most likely it's readily available at any Walmart. Just about any Walmart. Now, it ain't going to be available at my Walmart because I happen to live by what I call the Mexican Guatemalan Walmart. And for some reason, that Walmart, they don't sell ammo, probably because it's in the city, and the Democrats would lose their ever-loving minds if they were to sell ammo. So that one. But most Walmarts, out of the cities, most Walmarts are going to have the 243 rifle round, the Winchester round. So it should be easy to find. Now, it might cost you. Now is not the best time to buy ammo or guns because the prices are exorbitant. But hey, if you got to have it and you want to have that gift and you want it under the tree, then go ahead and spend the money. Go get yourself a Patriot youth rifle and get yourself some 243 Winchester rounds. Another thing to look at is you can look at Henry Arms. Henry Arms, man, they're fantastic. They're made in the United States, which, I mean, I can't stress that enough. They also have an array of youth rifles. If you go to Henry Arms and just do a search on youth rifles, they're gonna come up a few, and you're gonna have some choices, quite a few choices. And Henry Arms, again, they're made in the United States, but they've got a nice assortment of youth rifles that you can look at. So look, it's awesome, and I hope a lot of you are out there teaching your kids gun safety, and I hope lots of kids look. There's no better bonding than just as when I took my nephews out to target shoot, or when I took them out to learn how to ride motocross, it was an awesome bonding experience. So I can't think of a better bond between whether you're a father and son, or an uncle and nephew, or a father and daughter. Look, there's no reason that your daughter can't learn gun safety and learn how to shoot. In fact, I would say it's almost more important for your daughter to learn gun safety. So look, do it. It's out. It's a great thing to do. So, all right, folks, we're probably going to get close to the break coming up here. I want you to stay tuned because at 2:15, David Schaefer's calling in. And if you were listening to the first hour, I completely messed up, and it was my fault because I looked at the schedule wrong, and I thought that David was coming on at 1:15, but it's 2:15, so it was all my fault. So David Schaefer will be calling in at 2:15, and we're going to get back to a discussion on why it's so important to vote for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. Why is it so important that we hold the Senate? So we're going to get back to that discussion here shortly. And again, David Schaefer will be calling in. He is the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party, so he's the Georgia GOP chairman. And he'll be calling in today shortly, so we'll get into a discussion on that. And in the meantime, we'll get to. I want to talk about what is in store for us if we give the Democrats full control. I mean, that is something we just can't do, folks. You got to ask yourself. Forget about Trump hurting your feelings. Forget about Trump. Oh, you don't think he's presidential. President Trump, I wish he was more presidential. I wish he wouldn't tweet. I've heard it all. I've heard all the establishment Republicans. I've heard the never Trumpers. I've heard the Democrats. I've heard it to where it just makes me ill because you would put your emotions in front of actual policy. So I'm asking you now, because the Senate is in the balance, I'm asking you now to step back and let policy rule the day. Forget about your emotions. Forget about your hurt feelings. Don't worry about President Trump. Right now, you need to worry about the balance in the Senate. And I want you to just sit back and think the last 4 years. How much more money do you have in your pocket because taxes are low thanks to President Trump? How much more money do you have in your pocket because President Trump cut regulations? How fantastic was the economy going, and how great were you doing before China released the Wuhan virus? Folks, we were record grounds, breaking records almost on a weekly basis with the economy before the Wuhan virus hit. So I'm telling you, folks, you cannot blame President Trump for the Wuhan coronavirus as much as the Democrats are trying to convince you that he's to blame. How can you put blame on President Trump? He didn't create that virus. China did. Trump didn't stop travel from Wuhan to anywhere else in China. China did. But where did China allow people from Wuhan to go? They allowed them to go to the United States, and they allowed them to go to Europe. China knew darn well that the virus, once it left China, that it would spread in the U.S. like wildfire, and it would spread across Europe like wildfire. They knew that. Folks, China may act like they're friends of yours and that they love the NBA and they love Hollywood, but they are communist. And they are always going to put the communist power first. And China was not about to sit by and continue to allow President Trump to kick their tail, because that's what President Trump was doing. China hasn't been put in their place for years. The Bushes didn't do it, the Clintons didn't do it, and the Obamas didn't do it. For damn sure didn't do it. But President Trump came along and he put a stop to China's crap. China's been stealing intellectual property for years. He stole intellectual property with the Bushes, he stole it with the Clintons, and he stole it with the Obamas. But President Trump came in and put a stop to it. And President Trump was bringing manufacturing back to the United States. That none of that was good for China. There is no way on God's green earth that China wanted President Trump to be reelected. And by releasing this virus, again, whether they created it on purpose or not, I don't know. But the fact is, the Wuhan virus came from China, and China allowed it to leave. And they allowed it to leave because they wanted to put a stop to the United States economy. They wanted to stall the economy out, and they wanted to give the Democrats a chance to win, and that's what they did. And this may sound like conspiratorial stuff to you, but folks, it's just common sense. We know the virus originated in China, Wuhan. We know the lab that it came from. We know that it got out. Now, again, was it released on purpose? I don't know. Was it created on purpose? Don't know. And I'm not going to make accusations. I'm only going to deal with what we do know. I'm only going to deal with the facts that we know. And we know the virus came out of Wuhan province. We know that the Chinese Communist government stopped immediately when they saw there was a virus outbreak. They stopped travel from out of Wuhan to any other province in China. But they allowed people to leave Wuhan to go to the United States, and they allowed them to go to Europe. They made a conscious decision to allow this virus to spread to the U.S. and to spread to Europe. You don't know this because CNN's not going to tell you. MSNBC's not going to tell you. ABC, NBC, PBS, CBS, none of them are going to tell you this. But you can look it up for yourself, and you can find the facts are there. The virus came from Wuhan. The Chinese Communist government allowed it to leave and allowed it to reach the United States and allowed it to reach Europe. And they did that for a reason. Because once the United States had to start fighting a virus, then the eyes are off the economy. In fact, look, it worked better than China could have ever dreamed. You know, China could have been thinking, hey, look, we'll let a few people go. The virus will spread. They'll deal with it. It'll slow things down. They probably never dreamed that we would shut down our own economy. They probably never dreamed we would do these crazy lockdowns. But we did. And we crushed the best economy we've seen in decades and decades and decades. You can't put that at the feet of President Trump. You cannot. If you do, then you're not being honest with yourself. And the reason why I'm telling you all of this is because if you put that at the feet like the media did and like the Democrats did in order to get Biden elected, okay, well, you did it. You did it. You won. Yay for you. But now you've got to deal with Biden's agenda. you had a good economy. You had low gas prices. You had low taxes. Every family, the money they got, we're talking north of $1,000. Working families, poor families, I'm talking middle income families. All of you received extra money from the Trump tax cuts. And then when Trump dropped the corporate tax rate, look back in how many corporations gave their workers a bonus. Bonuses they didn't get to see under 8 years of Obama. And then hiring started. Folks, we had more jobs. Before the Wuhan virus hit, we had more jobs in this country than we had people to fill them. And there were opportunities galore. And if you didn't like the job you were in, you could go find another job and probably make more money. That's what was happening under the Trump economy. That will not happen under a Biden economy. So if you give power of the Senate to the Democrats, you're going to get the Obama 8 years is going to come roaring back under Biden and Kamala Harris. You're going to have higher taxes. You're going to have regulations. They're going to stick it to small business. Folks, do I need to remind you that 80% of small businesses create, 80% of the job creation comes from small business? Well, Biden's plan is going to crush small business. Biden's tax plan hits small business very hard. Same thing happened under Obama. So you got to ask yourself, is that what you want? If you're a gun owner, do you want to lose those privileges? Do you want to lose the Second Amendment? Because that's what you're going to get if the Democrats control everything. It is imperative that we, at this point, it's imperative we have divided government. The Democrats control the House, and the Democrats, it looks like, are going to control the executive branch. We cannot allow the Democrats to control the Senate. Cannot allow it. So, folks, I'm not making this stuff up. You know I'm not making it up. And if you're a Democrat voter, you know I'm right. You're listening to me, and I might be making you mad, but you know I'm right. You know you like lower taxes. You know you like more money in your paycheck. You know you like more money in your wallet. You know you like lower gas prices. All of that will go away if you give the Democrats total control. So if you truly believe in divided government, then you damn well better vote for divided government. Which means you better, and I'm speaking to Georgia voters now, you better get out and vote for Kelly Loeffler, and you better get out and vote for David Perdue. And if you're out there in another state and you're writing these goofy postcards, and I'm tearing them up as fast as I receive them, but if you're out there writing postcards and sending them to people like me in Georgia telling us that we need to give Democrats power, shame on you. Because you have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea what you're talking about, and you have no idea what policy means to the American people and to what policy means to small business. So trust me, when I'm talking to you here in Georgia, you've got to vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. So, all right, I think we're going to go to our break here. Let's take the break, and hopefully I can get David Schaefer on the line, but I may have messed that one up, folks. So, but stay tuned. You're listening to America's Web Radio. This is the On Point with Victor, Locked and Loaded.
Hey, guys, it's Minister Frankie with Shine His Light Ministries. It's getting cold outside, and winter is coming. It's time to shine a little light on our friends on the street. We're collecting blankets and coats for the homeless all winter long. Please donate by going to our website at www.shinehislightministry.com or text 770-655-8055.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mike Karuchak. Have you ever wondered what doctors talk about amongst themselves? If you do, join us on the Doctor's Lounge and hear the doctors' conversations amongst themselves. Join me and my co-host, Dr. Hal Schertz, every Thursday morning, 8 to 9 a.m.
If you live to serve and want to make an even bigger difference, consider joining the U.S. Army. With training in fields like medical care, linguistics, and engineering, an Army career can amplify your efforts with humanitarian opportunities all over the world. Plus, you'll receive competitive pay and incredible benefits, so you'll be taken care of, too. Learn more at GoArmy.com.
And I'm going to step in for a minute and just remind everybody to please go to our website, look at what we're talking about with J. Roy Ritchie Memorial. And if you're a veteran or you know a veteran that needs prayer, then send their names in or send your name in, and we'll see that on our veterans shows that your name is listed. And we're working on having veterans from all over the world praying for you. And a lot of veterans don't like to admit to having problems, but there's nothing wrong with doing it. And I don't mind people praying for the radio station and for our program, our J. Roy Ritchie Memorial Program. I'll take all the prayers that I can get. So with that being said, we'll be returning to On Point with Victor in just a moment.
Hey, we're back, folks. Welcome back. So, again, if you're used to hearing Locked and Loaded with Roger B. Roger B is out today, so we're doing a little extra hour of On Point with Victor. Look, if you listen to the first hour, we were going to have David Schaefer on, and folks, it's my fault. I told him 2:15 instead of 1:15, and so now I'm hoping that he'll call in anyway. But if not, we'll reschedule it for later. And again, he is the GOP chairman. And look, I want to apologize. I know I did in the first segment, but if you're just tuning in, the reason why I'm apologizing is because I screwed up the schedule and messed up a phone call that was supposed to be coming in from David Schaefer. So we'll get that right. Don't worry, folks. Don't worry. Look, I'm not perfect. I mean, I like to think I'm pretty good, but I'm not perfect. So anyway, folks, all right. Look, I want to get into not only look. I've been telling you what's going to happen if the Democrats take control, and look, I am talking to you as a Trump voter. I'm talking to you as I am part of the MAGA movement. I am not an establishment Republican. I don't even call myself a Republican. I call myself a conservative libertarian. But I am part of the Trump movement, and the Trump movement. We've got to move the Republican Party back. We've got to keep the Republican Party on track with the MAGA movement. America has to come first. Low taxes have to happen. We've got to cut spending, folks. Not show me one establishment Republican that will ever mention cutting spending. You're not going to hear a Democrat talk about it. You're not going to hear establishment Republicans talk about it. So when I tell you that we have to band together, that we cannot be angry that Biden might be inaugurated. We can't be angry. I know there was fraud, folks. I know this. But we've got to move on, because if the fraud can't be proved on a level that's going to flip the election, then it's just not going to happen. And I know many of you are afraid, are mad at the Supreme Court. You know what? Let me talk about that for a second. Look, should the Supreme Court have heard the Texas case? Yes. In fact, go read what Alito and what Clarence Thomas wrote about accepting that case, because they made a great point. Yes, they should hear it. Whenever a state sues a state, original domain, I should check with Mark DeShark in New York, but the originality, and you lawyers out there, don't make fun of me. But it falls on the Supreme Court. When a state sues a state, it doesn't go to appellate courts. It doesn't go to these smaller courts. It doesn't go to circuit courts. It goes to this. It falls on the domain of the Supreme Court. It goes straight to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court makes the decision to take the case. Now, I believe that the Supreme Court, as does Alito and Clarence Thomas, if you read what they wrote, that the Supreme Court should have taken the case to hear the case. Now, they also mentioned that, and I forgot exactly what it said, but they also mentioned that they weren't giving standing to Texas. And folks, listen, let me explain something to you. You do not want a state to be able to meddle with another state's election law. And what I mean by that, you don't want a state to be able to come along and say, for instance, my state's mad because your state's not taxing your citizen enough. We don't want a precedent set where say Texas can come in and tell Georgia how to run their elections, or tell anyone else any other state how to run their election. We don't want that to happen. Because if that precedent is set, then what is going to stop New York or California from taking Georgia and Florida and Tennessee and Alabama and any other state to court and say, you don't tax your citizen enough, therefore we're suing you to make you tax your citizen more? California has an unbelievable, ridiculous, overbearing tax system, and so does New York. But Tennessee, they don't have an state income tax. Neither does Florida, and a couple of other states don't. Georgia has relatively low taxes. South Carolina does. Alabama. These are all red states that have Republican governors and Republican legislatures who keep their taxes low. And again, Tennessee and Florida, they don't have an income tax. So let's use this as an example. Do you want California and New York? Neither does Texas, and which is a great point, Legendary Dave, because if you're in Texas, listen to me now. I know I've got listeners in Texas. You guys, listen to me. Do you want the state of California and the state of New York and the state of Washington, do you want them to get into a lawsuit together and sue Texas, sue Tennessee, and sue Florida because you don't have a state income tax? Do you want them to be able to sue and go to the Supreme Court and demand that Texas enact a state income, that Florida enact a state income, that Tennessee enact a state income? Folks, you do not want this. So as much as I want Donald Trump to win, I want President Trump to be reelected, as much as I wanted that, I do not want one state to have the power to force another state to how to run their elections or how to run their tax systems. Folks, we cannot have that. So understand what the Supreme Court's done. Now let me backtrack and say I do believe the Supreme Court should have heard the case, because when you've got a grievance from state to state, I think it's the duty of the Supreme Court to hear it. Now, you don't have to give merit. So if Texas brings their case and if they say, we demand Georgia change their election law, well, then the Supreme Court has every right to throw that out, and they would have thrown that out. Now, if Texas comes to the Supreme Court and says the people have been abused or the people have been wronged because there was fraud going on, well, that's a different aspect, and the Supreme Court can hear that. Now, the Supreme Court, they can't give Texas the merit or ability to force Georgia to change the way they do things, but maybe they should hear the case so that the fraud is exposed. So I know this sounds confusing, and I'm trying not to get everybody down into the minutia of how everything works. But on the surface and on the what I want you to take away is in our law, precedent means a lot. It really does. It really, really does. And we do not want to set a precedence of allowing another state to dictate to another state on how to run their interior affairs. Let me put it that way. We were set up, the federalism that we have, the separation from the federal government and to the states, this form of government that we have, the Republican form of government, that's what it is, folks. You can look at the founding documents. We are a republic. We are not a democracy. And because we are a republic, because we have a Republican form of government, states are independent from the federal government. There are certain rights and there are certain things that the states have that the federal government cannot impose on. So you do not want, I'm saying this because you do not want a state to be able to force another state to suddenly not be independent. You do not want, again, the state of Texas telling the state of Georgia how to run their election laws, just as you do not want the state of California, the state of New York, to tell Georgia or Texas how to run their tax system. You cannot have a state sue another state and interfere with that state's interior affairs. That's not, folks, just trust me. Our form of government does not allow purposely for one state to meddle with the affairs of another state. That's the way our form of government is set up. Now, in Pennsylvania, and my listeners in Pennsylvania, listen to me. Wisconsin, you guys listen to me. In Michigan, enough of you can get together and you can file suit, and you can keep filing until you get to the Supreme Court about the fraud that went on in your state. Now, the burden of proof will be on you. But you, and in Georgia, for you voters that are out there in Georgia and that you're really, really angry, and look, I know you're angry. Your grievance isn't to throw Kemp under the bus or Raffensperger. And look, don't misunderstand me. I think we could do better than Kemp, and I think we could do better than Raffensperger. But they can't take the blame for what happened in Georgia. They can't take total blame for what happened in Georgia. Folks, the Georgia GOP, it was on them to do signature verifications before the election. They could observe the signatures for the absentee, but they didn't do it. And the Trump team, they got a little bit of blame because they didn't push the Georgia GOP to do it. It wasn't Kemp's job, and it wasn't Raffensperger's job. In fact, Raffensperger, I believe he sent out a note to the Georgia GOP saying, if anyone blocks you from observing signature verification, you report it immediately to the Secretary of State office, and they will make sure you get access. Because per the Georgia State Constitution, the Republican Party has the right to observe signature verification when it comes to absentee ballots. They just have to show up. And they didn't show up. And the Trump campaign didn't push them to show up. So I'm afraid right now you've got a lot of Georgia GOP people who are covering their butts and throwing Kemp and Raffensperger under the bus. So again, did Raffensperger fall short on what he... Yes, I think he could do better, and I think Kemp could do better. But you can't blame them for everything that happened in Georgia, because the GOP in Georgia fell short, and so did the Trump campaign. I know some of you get mad at hearing me say that, but look, I've got to be honest with you. I'm not going to sugarcoat things, and I shouldn't have to repeat to you, those of you out there who know me, you know I'm America First guy. I'm a MAGA guy. I'm a Trump supporter. But I am not going to take this country down because I'm mad about the election, or I'm mad at Brad Raffensperger, or I'm mad at Kemp. I'm not going to take this country down. No, I'm going to strap up the boots, and I'm going to fight for Kelly Loeffler, and I'm going to fight for Senator Perdue. Now, let me say this, because I do find it funny and ironic that the establishment GOP and the Never Trumpers are begging the Trump voter to bail them out right now. Because you have to laugh at this. The GOP, for the most part, was never behind Trump. They fought Trump. And the establishment GOP. And the Never Trumper, they fought Trump. The Never Trumper is part of the reason why Biden is about to be your next president. The Never Trumper can be thanked for that, partially. And now, watching the Never Trumpers and the establishment Republicans beg the Trump voters of Georgia to bail them out, it's kind of funny and it's kind of ironic. But I am here as a Trump voter. I am here as part of the MAGA movement to tell you, we have to bail them out. As mad as we are at the establishment Republicans for not getting behind Trump for 4 years, as mad as we are at the Never Trumper for willing to have Hillary or Biden instead of Trump, for the Never Trumpers, mad as we are at the Never Trumper for trashing Trump every chance they got. Yeah, I'm mad at them too. But you know what? I have to help. I have to bail them out, because we have to have Senator Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. We have to have them win. We have to hold the Senate. So I am not going to sit on the sidelines and let my anger dictate. Look, folks, me sitting at home and not voting is not going to teach Kemp a lesson. It's not going to teach Raffensperger a lesson. Me not voting and allowing the Democrats to gain control of the Senate, it's not going to teach the Never Trumpers a lesson. It's not going to teach the establishment Republicans a lesson. No. We're not going to punish them, folks. We're going to punish ourselves. We're going to punish the American people, and we're going to lose the United States Constitution. We're going to lose freedom. We're going to lose liberty if we allow the Democrats to take control of the Senate. So I'm begging the Trump voter, begging you, please, just as much as we support President Trump, we've got to support Perdue, and Loeffler. Forget about the never-Trumpers. Forget about the establishment Republicans. Forget about them, folks. We've got to come together and save the Senate. Keep it in the Republican hands so that we can save the Second Amendment. We can save the First Amendment. We can save freedom. We can preserve liberty. Because if we give the Democrats total control, they're going to have 2 years to run rickshot over freedoms and over liberties. And we cannot allow that. We must put up the biggest roadblock we can put up to block Biden's agenda. And the only way to do it is to vote for Kelly Perdue and for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Oh my gosh, David Perdue's wife is going to be so mad at me. Folks, listen. I love President Trump. I adore him. And I know you guys, you Trump voters also do. You love Trump and you adore him. The best thing we can do for President Trump right now is to preserve his legacy. And the only way to preserve his legacy of lower taxes, smaller government, the only way we can preserve his legacy, peace deals in the Middle East. Come on, folks. There's peace deals in the Middle East. The Bushes didn't do it. The Carters didn't do it. The Clintons didn't do it. The Obamas didn't do it. The Bidens will damn sure won't do it. But President Trump did it. He's why we have peace in the Middle East right now. And he's why there are no new wars right now. That's President Trump. And to preserve that legacy, we've got to vote for Kelly Perdue. And we've got, oh my gosh, I did it again. We've got to vote for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. Oh my gosh, the crap I'm going to receive for this. But folks, we've got to get together and we've got to vote for them. We have to. We've got to preserve, again, we've got to preserve the legacy that is President Trump. And the only way we're going to preserve that legacy is to keep control of the Senate. The only roadblock that we can put up to stop the Biden and Kamala Harris agenda is to vote for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. All right, folks, we're going to go to our next break here, but I want you to ponder that. Ponder that. So we'll be right back, and we're going to get into some more things. But, folks, I'm telling you, trust me when I tell you, Perdue got to win. Loeffler's got to win. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back. This is On Point with Victor, America's Web Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, join me, Roger B., every Tuesday at 1400 hours right here on America's Web Radio for the Locked and Loaded Show. We will talk about guns, weapons, ammo, gun accessories, prepping, and so much more. So be sure to join us every Tuesday at 1400 or 2 p.m. for Locked and Loaded on America's Web Radio.
If you live to serve and want to make an even bigger difference, consider joining the U.S. Army. With training in fields like medical care, linguistics, and engineering, an Army career can amplify your efforts with humanitarian opportunities all over the world. Plus, you'll receive competitive pay and incredible benefits, so you'll be taken care of, too. Learn more at GoArmy.com.
Hey guys, it's Minister Frankie with Shine His Light Ministries. It's getting cold outside and winter is coming. It's time to shine a little light on our friends on the street. We're collecting blankets and coats for the homeless all winter long. Please donate by going to our website at www.shinehislightministry.com or text 770-655-8055.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Now, look, folks, I mentioned in the first hour, and let me do this again. There is an awesome place. Look, you guys know I'm a motorcycle enthusiast as well as a gun enthusiast, as this is the normal time for Locked and Loaded. But sadly, all my guns were lost in a boating accident. So any Democrats out there listening, my guns were sadly lost in a boating accident. Again, it's crazy. I don't know how it keeps happening. It's a crazy thing. But I was out riding this past weekend, folks, and look, if you're a motorcycle rider out there, I mean, there's nothing like it. Love it, love it, love it. And right now, I am enjoying the crap out of my Indian bobber. And folks, if you guys want to check out the new Indian line, it's amazing. Go to Indian and Marietta. If you're in Georgia, go to Indian and Marietta. If you're not in Georgia, look up your local Indian dealer. Just an amazing motorcycle, the Indian Bobber, the Scout Bobber. Look at the Scout 60, the Chieftain, the Dark Horse. There's a bike for you, trust me. But we were out riding, and we stopped at this place called Pop's. Pop's Coffee Shop, Pop's Coffee Company. So I just want to mention them real quick. It's a fantastic coffee shop, brand new. They've only been open for 3 weeks. It's a great motorcycle destination, great place to stop. They've got an awesome patio, garage doors that open up to the interior so you get fresh air inside or outside. But a great coffee shop to visit while you're out riding around on your motorcycle. And if you're not a motorcycle rider, you know what? Stop by anyway. Great people over there, great, nice people. Tell them Victor from On Point with Victor sent you. So that's Pop's Coffee Company in Roswell, Georgia, off Highway 9. Don't miss it. Pop's Coffee Company. All right, folks. So I have been telling you why it's so important that we come together and we vote for Kelly Loeffler, and David Perdue. Folks, at this point, you cannot quabble with the establishment Republicans. Don't quabble with the never-Trumpers. You know, look, when it comes down to it, we all have our right to vote for whom we want. So just remember that at the end of the day, there are things we can fight for together. And if we're going to save the Second Amendment, if we're going to stop taxes from being raised, if we're going to stop as much as the Biden agenda as we can, then we got to come together and make sure we hold the Senate. Now, I know I am probably sounding about as redundant as that other guy that's on another radio show. I shouldn't say that. That's terrible. I actually love the guy. I'm not talking about The Godfather, man. The Godfather's the best. And look, now that I mentioned The Godfather, if you guys are Rush listeners, he's being accused of advocating for Texas leaving the Union. He did no such thing. So you Democrats out there that are listening and all you do is get your news from headlines off of CNN and blurbs from whatever your Democrat socialist site is you're getting your news from. Rush Limbaugh said nothing of the sort. He never, not once, not ever did he advocate for Texas or any state to leave the Union. Never did it. Not once, not ever. So anyway, but I know I may be sounding a little repetitious here when I'm trying to drive home the point of how important it is to vote for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. So what I want you to do, all you listeners out there, and I know a lot of you are in Georgia because On Point with Victor happens to originate in Georgia. So I know a lot of you in Georgia are listening to me right now. Listen to what I want you to do. I want you to go vote. If you can early vote, do it. Early voting started yesterday in Georgia for this runoff election. If you can go early vote, do it. If you can't, then go vote on Election Day. If you can't vote on Election Day, then get your absentee ballot. I think you can still get your absentee ballot. But the best thing to do is to go walk into a polling booth and go pull the lever for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. Go do it. If you can early vote, go do it. Right now, we're getting our butts kicked by Democrats early voting. And we got our butts kicked by Democrats and absentee ballots. Okay, folks, we know this already in Georgia. So I'm sending out the alarm right now. Let me sound the alarm in Georgia right now. It is no big surprise that we got our butts kicked with absentee ballots. Okay, that's the things the Democrats love to do. But we cannot get our butts kicked with early voting, and right now we're getting our butts kicked with early voting. So if you are a voter and you haven't voted, go vote for Kelly Perdue and Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. Go vote. And you grab a friend, you grab a family member. Make it if you can't donate to a campaign or already donate to a campaign or whatever, make it your next donation, make it be this. That you grab one or two or three friends and make them go vote with you, as long as they're going to vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. take a family member. Make sure they go vote, as long as they're voting for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. And if you can go vote early, do it. Make sure you get it done, though, because we cannot afford to give the Democrats power in the Senate. And it's not just giving them power, folks. You would be sending two of the most radical senators to the Senate if you elect Warnock or if you allow Ossoff to be elected. You know, I don't have much to say about Ossoff because he's an empty suit. He's an empty suit. He's a trust fund baby that runs around with talking points but knows nothing. Do you want that guy to be your senator from Georgia? This guy doesn't know his head from a hole in the ground. I know I said that wrong, but I'm trying to be clean. But this guy is very wealthy. And he's already a wealthy elitist. He wants to be a political elitist because that's where the power lies. John Ossoff isn't going to do a damn thing for we the people. He's going to do everything for Ossoff. And he's going to be a lapdog for Schumer and for Pelosi and for Biden and for Kamala Harris. So I don't have anything else to say about Ossoff. Now, when we talk about Warnock. Now, I got plenty to say about Warnock because this guy is so radical and he's such an anti-Semitic. And you know that and he's anti-military, folks, and he's anti-police. If you believe in law enforcement, you can't allow Warnock to be elected. You just can't. And folks, I'm not angry. I'm just right. So folks, understand that we must pull together. And we as Trump voters, we've got to save the establishment Republicans and we've got to save the never Trumpers by getting out and voting. Listen, don't do it for them. Do it for President Trump. The only way to preserve President Trump's legacy is to not lose control of the Senate. Again, if you're a voter out there, if you're a Trump voter and you're very upset, you're not going to punish the Republican Party by not voting. You're not going to punish them. You're going to punish yourself. You're going to punish this country. And you're going to punish President Trump. Because if you give control of the Senate to the Democrats, then Biden is going to undo everything that Trump did. The Trump legacy will be gone. And we cannot allow that to happen. We just can't. So I'm begging you in Georgia, we've got some catching up to do. The voters in Georgia, Republican voters, establishment Republican voters, never Trumper Republican voters, MAGA voters, President Trump voters. We have got some catching up to do. We've got to get out and vote for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. Controlling the Senate is the best we can do right now, folks. I mean, I'm sorry. The reality is that Joe freaking sleepy Biden is going to be inaugurated on January 20th. Unless something crazy happens, which, hey, I'm all for it if it does. But right now, it looks like he's going to be inaugurated on January 20th, which means he's going to be president for at least a day. But then Kamala Harris will be president. And how awful will that be if she has the presidency and the Democrats have the Senate and the House? It will be awful. Folks, I mean, I can just tell you again, bye-bye guns, bye-bye Second Amendment, hello taxes, hello more spending, hello state bailouts. Folks, let me talk to you people in Georgia and Florida and all these other states. Do you want to bail out New York? Do you want to bail out California? And no offense to my listeners in California and my listeners in New York, but it ain't the job of us Georgians to bail your state out. And that's what's going to happen if we give control of the Senate to the Democrats. So all you voters in Georgia, who I know many of you are angry, I know, and we've got some fraud that we need to prosecute, I know. But right now, the most important thing is preserving the Senate. So you've got to get out and vote. Because if we lose the Senate, we're going to not just lose President Trump's legacy, we're going to lose a lot more. Because when Kamala Harris takes over, whew, folks, she thinks she can write an executive order to ban guns. She thinks she has that power. But what's going to stop her? If the Democrats control the Senate, they're not going to stop her. The Democrats control the House, they're not going to stop her. They're not going to stop the Biden agenda. Only the Republicans can stop the Biden agenda. So hear me and hear me well. I mean, we're in the Christmas season, folks. I love Christmas. This is my favorite time of year. I love the Hallmark Christmas movies. I love the cheesy Christmas movies. I can watch Elf over and over. I can watch Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase over and over and over. I love the Daddy Home movies. I love these Christmas movies. And yes, Virginia, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. In fact, I am going to take my happy butt to the theaters, AMC, because they're open in Georgia, and I'm going to go see Die Hard because that wonderful Christmas movie is on the big screen again. And there's nothing, man, watching Die Hard on the big screen is like seeing the movie for the first time. It's just awesome. And look, I love Christmas. But right now, how can we enjoy Christmas if we allow the Democrats to take control of the Senate? We can't allow it to happen. So, folks, we're at the end of the show here. And again, all our bests go out to Roger B. for a quick recovery. Folks, look, he doesn't have the Wuhan. He's doing fine. I'm not going to tell you what's going on, but he's got a little injury. We'll just give him our best. And hopefully he'll be back next week with Locked and Loaded. But this has been my pleasure to have an extra hour for the On Point with Victor show. Folks, get out and vote if you're in Georgia. Kelly Loeffler, David Perdue, make it happen. Folks, tune in next week. We'll be back with more On Point with Victor. Thank you so much, folks. You guys are the best. Thanks for listening. This has been America's Web Radio, On Point with Victor.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
I'm your host, Dr. Hal. Every week, we come to you with the information that you need so that you will be prepared to advocate for your family and for yourselves when it comes to your health care. God forbid we get Ossoff and Warnock in the Senate and the left gets what they want, which is a majority in Congress and the White House. First of all, health care will be more expensive. There initially will be a public option. The government will run it. They will be initially very inexpensive, and it will drive commercial payers out of the health care market. Then the choices will disappear. The only insurer out there will be the federal government, and that's when we get a single payer.
Hey folks, this is Victor with the On Point with Victor show. Make sure you listen every Tuesday 1 to 2, only right here on America's Web Radio, the On Point with Victor show. Remember folks, I'm not angry, I'm just right. And you can find out why every Tuesday from 1 to 2, the On Point with Victor show, only right here on America's Web Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, join me, Roger B., every Tuesday at 1400 hours right here on America's Web Radio for the Locked and Loaded Show. We will talk about guns, weapons, ammo, gun accessories, prepping, and so much more. So be sure to join us every Tuesday at 1400 or 2 p.m. for Locked and Loaded on America's Web Radio.
Good morning and welcome to America's Web Radio. You're listening to the Classic Car Show, and we have a couple of classics right here in the studio with us. One is Mr. Ronaldo, and the other one is Mr. Good morning and welcome to America's Web Radio. You're listening to the Classic Car Show, and we have a couple of classics right here in the studio with us. One is Mr. Ronaldo, and the other one is Mr. Weber. And I won't say that I'm older than both of them. But anyway, we do have a very special guest on, and we always enjoy this particular guest because he brings insight into the hobby and industry that nobody else has, and it's Mr. Steve Moskowitz from AACA, and he is the one time you told me to call you president and one time director. So, Steve, good morning and welcome to the Classic Car Show.